Hello, everyone. We're moving to the final section of the Writing a Monologue workshop, and it's on creating a signature. Creating a signature is all about stamping identity onto your dramatic writing, uh, giving a clear sense of identity to your character through the words they use. Some of what I'm going to talk about here relates to the final box I just talked about in your 6-box monologue template, which is about repeated, and keywords. So you can look at that box specifically to see how much you might want to develop to make those repeated or keywords and phrases your signature. So what exactly is a signature? Okay, well, basically, a signature is whatever makes the words of your monologue and your character recognizable to your audience. It can be achieved in a number of ways, of course, but the primary ways are these. It could be achieved through repetition. Simply by using repetition, you make the words and ideas of the character and their preoccupations more noticeable for the audience. It could be achieved through a habitual turn of phrase. Okay? So we all, as speakers of a language, tend to use certain phrases or fall back on certain phrases. It's something that we might do consciously or unconsciously. And if we build those into a monologue of a character, you kind of give a window into how the character uses language and therefore get a window into their identity at the same time. The other way to enforce a signature or underscore a signature is basically by conveying a consistency of thought and action. Okay? So this doesn't mean that you necessarily use particular words repeatedly or anything like that, but you try to convey, underscore whatever you write with a certain consistency. Okay? All right. Here are some examples of signatures that I've used in my own playwriting practice. So the first two examples come from a play of mine called That Time, That Place. Okay? I use a lot of chorus-bound kind of monologic moments, which are more dialogic than monologic. I kind of represented them here as monologue, but I think you'll get the point nevertheless. Okay? Here are the words spoken by the central character. Okay? You just stuck with people you know, your level you know how it is. So one of the things I wanted to create with this character was a phrase that they often use out of habit. Okay? And that phrase is, you know. A lot of people do use phrases like, you know, a lot. And I wanted to use it not just to repeat it, because if you just repeat it for the sake of it, it can be a bit annoying, but repeat it so that we understand something specific about the character and the way they speak, and also about their preoccupations and deepen our understanding of what those preoccupations can mean. So here the character is trying to justify what they did or didn't do. And they're using the phrase, you know, repeatedly. The first time they use it is like this, right? You just stuck with people you know. So it's part of a phrase. People you know, meaning people that you are familiar with, okay? But the next time they use it, it's more in a casual kind of way. Your level, you know. So the second time they use, you know, is basically to implore the audience to understand their plight, their perspective, like they really didn't have a choice. So the you know here is to engender a sense of community, engender understanding, common understanding with the audience. I did this, but it's just something we all do. The third time they use you know how it is to strengthen their position that this is something we all do, that it's not a problem owing to the protagonist, but something that we might all be guilty of doing because that's just the way we are. You know how it is. Confirming once again, this is the way we all do things or don't do things. Okay? So the use of you know is to underscore how the character uses language. But it's also to evoke a certain common understanding. Okay? And try to make us understand how the character tries to justify what they did or didn't do to the audience, to absolve themselves to a certain degree of their guilt. The second one also is the same character here. And this is what they say. No one was home and he left. Just like that. Just like that. Just like that. Just like that. So the repetition of just like that is there to kind of underscore what they want to understand about the situation. Because when they first say just like that, it makes the action that they're trying to describe sound somewhat casual. But clearly, the character is disturbed by this action and a sense that it was done casually. They cannot accept that. So they repeat it just like that. Can it be just like that? And the third time they repeat it, it's a questioning starts, right? They are openly trying to question how this other character they're talking about could have just done that. And then they break down the words just like that. And they begin to question the very use of that phrase and the dismissive nature of that phrase, because the protagonist, the speaker here, wants to make something more of an action that seemed too casual, too inconsequential to be believable. Okay? The third example of a signature comes from a different play. It comes from Pieces of Her, which I mentioned earlier. It's a very simple kind of repetition, but it does underscore something. They made me delete my account, an online gaming account they're talking about. It doesn't matter in the end because the game went offline afterwards, but they made me delete my account. So the repetition of this phrase is not a turn of phrase that the character necessarily always uses, but they repeat it purposefully, consciously, in order to underscore the emotions behind what other characters did. Okay? They made me delete my account. Their sense of control, their decision-making was taken away from them, right? Someone else, authority figures, made this character delete their account. Parents, actually, okay? The parents made this character delete his account. And he says it didn't matter because the game went offline. It became defunct. In other words, the game no longer existed online. So there was no need to delete it. But he says the fact that my parents, these other people, made me delete my account means something. And he feels bitter about it. He feels frustrated, even angry about it. And that's why he repeats this phrase, because it concerns him. It angers him that his parents made him do this. Okay? All right. So task 4 is this. Post in the comments thread 2 examples of a signature that you can imagine for yourself, okay? That you could maybe integrate into your monologue, okay? So be creative. It doesn't mean that just because you're posting it, you're committed to those signatures. It's just a way of experimenting and getting feedback, okay? So as I've said earlier, help each other learn about signatures by giving advice, commenting, offering positive kind of endorsement of signatures you like, okay? Think about the effects they have on you, just as the owner of these signatures should explain what it means to them as well, okay? So use this opportunity to interact, okay? And learn from each other. Thank you, everyone. Okay. But one final thing before I go, I just remembered, just keep in mind that, what we're getting you to write here is not highly demanding. This whole exercise in monologue writing is supposed to be kind of fast and fun, okay? We are asking you to write a bite-sized monologue, which is similar in length to an audition monologue. And that means a monologue of 1 to 2 minutes, okay? That means all you're required to write is 150 to about 300 words, roughly, okay? Which is not a lot. So everything I've talked about need not be included, of course, because you might not have space to do so. I'm just giving you an opportunity, in addition to writing this bite-sized monologue, to kind of learn about what does it mean to write monologues, because maybe writing this short monologue spurs you on to write more in the future. Okay, so good luck writing your monologue. See where it takes you, but begin by writing the signature for comment from us. Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next workshop, which is basically about performing your monologue once you've written it. Thank you.